Houston Texans are coming off an exciting victory over their division rivals with a buzzer beater type touchdown, while the Buffalo Bills are looking to forget their Sunday Night Football Week 4 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. They now get to fly to Houston to take on C.J. Stroud and the Texans, and Ryan and I, we're going to break down the Bills-Texans Week 5 matchup. We're going to talk about the matchups within the game that you need to look out for and provide our predictions at the very end of the video. But before we do that, we are trying to get to 100 new subscribers during this Week 5 prediction video series. We've been able to hit that goal the past couple of weeks thanks to all of our new members to the channel. And so if this is your first time here, or if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. And Ryan, let's talk about the Texans here as well. I thought it was a solid performance from Houston, especially they were out Joe Mixon and Tank Dell as well, two other skill position players. And so the first half, they had a great offensive performance. In the second half as well, slowed down a little bit, but their defense was able to stop the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just one touchdown, the C.J. Stroud and everybody was able to come alive for their final drive of the game and score a touchdown with, I think, about 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds left. And so anytime you go get a win against your division rival, even if they are winless, like Jacksonville, who's also still winless, it's still a big win. And Buffalo coming off a just really tough loss, kind of got punched in the mouth by a guy named Derrick Henry on an 87-yard touchdown run. And so then that just kind of set the tone for the game. And I think like a lot of people, I kind of stopped watching towards the end just because it was kind of whatever. But felt like Buffalo's offense in the first half just like looked fine, just couldn't get a rhythm going. The defense, though, was kind of a big struggle, with something we haven't seen kind of up to this point in the season. So kind of with that being said, though, it's the end of September, kind of the end of the regular season, preseason, as you and I like to joke, as a lot of teams are still kind of getting the rust off during these first couple of weeks. What do you think of these teams who, if I'm not mistaken, both are 3-1 on the season so far? What is your kind of overall report cards and thoughts on both these teams?
Yeah, I mean, starting out with the Buffalo Bills, I think they're performing well. We had a lot of questions coming in. They had a fair bit of losses on the defensive side of the ball. They had a fair bit of changing pieces on the offensive side of the ball. Some offensive linemen moved on. They brought in some new offensive linemen. A lot of shifts on the receiver room, where only one guy had caught, Khalil Shakir, had caught passes from Josh Allen before. So just a lot of questions.
Receivers, right?
Yeah, receiving room.
Receivers. Okay. Well, because Dalton was there too, and Dawson Knox, and so.
Oh, okay, that's also fair. But a lot of questions, I think, coming in with the Bills this season, and I think they've answered those pretty well. They're a pretty good downhill running team, and I think kind of speaking to that loss to Baltimore, Derrick Henry came out. They were in a too high. They showed it on the broadcast. They were in a too high safety kind of look. And after that first play, Derrick Henry ran for the 87-yard touchdown, and they immediately, the very next possession, were in a single high for the rest of the game because they put an extra guy down the box to help stop the run. Still really weren't successful at it, but I think the Ravens kind of discovered a little bit about their personality and kind of the team that they want to be going forward. It just happened to be against the Buffalo Bills. So that's a tough loss, but I still think looking forward, the outlook for this Bills team is still bright. And also in the second half, that offense definitely struggled. But even though they have Josh Allen and this receiving room has some good pieces in it, I still think this is a run-first offense. They want this to be a downhill running team led by James Cook. Even including Josh Allen in that aspect of it. While they don't ask him to be Superman as much anymore, which I think is a good thing, he still is a big contributing factor in that running game. And they weren't able to do that just because they got down so much so quickly against the Ravens. And I think that's part of the reason why that offense didn't look as good. And on the flip side, Houston, they had a bad loss to Minnesota, but I think other than that, they've looked pretty decent. Kind of picked up, C.J. Stroud has kind of picked up where he left off last year, looking solid, making plays, facilitating game-winning drives. Sorry, I was looking for the word there, but they look good. I think this defense, they've had a lot of changes also, so they're taking some time to get used to the new system and whatnot. D'Amico Ryans is doing a good job altogether. And I just think this Texans team look really good. So
yeah, especially too still early on as well. Like I think we haven't even seen the full potential yet for the Houston Texans offense, especially when everybody gets healthy. Because that's, even if we go back to last year, that's second half of the season is when everything really started to pick up for them, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And so now that you have Stephon Diggs as well, it's just another key weapon in there. It's just I think as they even get more rhythm together as we continue to go on, it's going to be, I think, a really tough team to stop to score. And so I think Buffalo's going to be the same way as well. I agree with you where they want to be a run-first team. And honestly, too, if they can get home field advantage or have home playoff games come January or any home game really come late November, early December, as you know, as a Patriots fan, and you get to play them twice in week 16 and week 18. And so it's not a fun place to play. And having that hard mouth or that hard mouth, a smash mouth, hard nose type running style led by James Cook. We saw it last year against Dallas, where it was kind of that transition to this new team. And I think that's going to fit them really well, especially too with the type of home field advantage that they get playing up in Buffalo. So unfortunately for them, this will be an away game in a dome as well. So it's going to be as perfect conditions, I think, as any of these teams can hope for. And so kind of moving to this game here. But before we get into that, if you do want to put a couple bucks down on this game, on the Bills Texans Week 5 game, check the link down below. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players. So you can take a look at this game and also any of the other Week 5 games as well. And I think it's going to be interesting to see who the favorite's going to be here, because I think both teams are. I know Bills going to be coming off a tough loss. But I still feel this could be close to a pick-em. Maybe the Texans slightly favorite, just because there might be a little bit more explosive capabilities, I think, from this offense, and it's going to be at home. And so I think that's where the betting favorites might lean towards. But still, though, I still think this is going to be a tough team to go up against, especially if they are a little dinged up with Joe Mixon being out. If Tank Dell's also out, it's just another couple of weapons that the Bills don't have to worry about. But I want to give a shout out to you, though. One of the key factors I think that we're going to have to watch is how this Bills linebacking core is going to do. That was definitely a clear weakness that Baltimore Ravens exploited due to some of the injuries. And you've been pointing that out the past couple of weeks as well. Just said this is a weakness for this team. And when you lose Terrell Edmonds, right, and then Matt Milano as well, two studs.
Well, Jermaine Edmonds went to the Bears in free agency a few years ago. Terrell Bernard is the other one.
That's it. Yeah. My apologies. So when you lose some studs in the middle like that, it's going to have a big impact on that team. So how do the Texans exploit that? How can the Bills kind of cover for that? Because I think another X factor as well is going to be the matchup between the Buffalo Bills D-line and the Houston Texans offensive line. Because as of right now, the Texans have given up 14 sacks on the season, which puts them ranked 26, while the Bills have 12 sacks in the season, putting them 9th overall. So I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup, because if Stroud has time to find Stephon Diggs, find Nico Collins, or if Tank Dell's also playing as well, and go through his progression, it could be another tough day, I think, for this Bills defense, who got burned through running the ball or by giving up a lot of rushing yards against the Ravens. And I think Stroud could maybe make it a really tough day for them by throwing the ball a lot. That's going to be, I think, the main matchup to watch. I think the Bills offense versus the Texans defense is going to be fun as well. I think both teams are going to get their licks in. But I think, as we saw, though, and maybe I was mistaken a little bit kind of going into that Ravens game, the Bills team does get down offensively. Do they have the passing capabilities, the receiving capabilities to kind of win in a shootout? And so I thought they could. Of course, maybe things just got way out of hand too early. Maybe it's still early on in the season. Maybe they still do. But this could be another interesting game where we'll also see how well they are passing the ball up against a top-tier defense.
Yeah, and Baltimore was the first team that really made them have to push the ball. And I say, like, Arizona did as well. However, Arizona's defense is not the caliber of Baltimore's. Yeah. And I think Houston's defense is closer to the caliber of Baltimore itself. They're allowing about 113 rushing yards per game based on what I have. And they're the 4th ranked defense in total yards allowed from what I can see right now. Wait, what?
Oh, sorry. This is Houston or Buffalo?
Houston. And so that's going to be, I think, my big key is how well does this Houston D-line stop the run of the Buffalo Bills? Because if they can do what the Ravens were able to do and make this offense one-dimensional, I think that could make it a long day for Josh Allen, because this offense is going to score. This offense is going to get their licks in. And if Buffalo can't keep up, they're going to fall behind. It's going to be a similar situation to what they were in last week. So let's go ahead and kind of get into predictions here. Tyler, I'll throw it over to you. Who are you taking in this matchup?
So I'm going back and forth on here. I've been kind of on the Buffalo Bills bandwagon, and so I think I'll hitch another ride with them. I think they're definitely going to look to bounce back after kind of an embarrassing loss that they had on Sunday Night Football. And so I think they're going to be looking to bounce back, obviously, from that. I think we'll have to monitor the injuries. Like if Joe Mixon, Tank Dell, just a couple other weapons are out this game. It's just going to be less weapons that they really have to worry about. The Texans, as good as they are throwing the ball, it's nowhere near as good. Nothing, I think, really is nearly as good as the Baltimore Ravens running offense, which might be if that train gets rolling, nothing I think is really going to stop that Derrick Henry Lamar Jackson combo. I still think maybe a couple of things that the Bills can exploit in the CJ Stroud passing offense, such as maybe a little bit weaker of an offensive line and maybe can provide some good pressure. So I think they're going to be able to exploit that. I think if they can get control of the ball and control the clock, I think they can have a better offensive performance. And so I'm going to go with the Bills in this one.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Texans. There are a few injuries I do want to keep my eye on. You mentioned Tank Dell. Laramie Tunsil's the other one. He's on the injury report listed as questionable. If he cannot go, I think that would be a really big loss for this offensive line. And the Bills do have a good pass rush. And so that would probably sway me to change my pick if Laramie Tunsil's not able to go. But I think this Texans offense is going to put the Bills in a situation where they're going to have to keep pace. And we haven't really seen the Bills in a situation like that they've really had to cover multiple top receivers. Like the Ravens don't have a great receiving core. The Dolphins were the only team that really could threaten them with two really good receiving options. But then with that being said, both Tyreek and Jalen Waddle were banged up in that game, and Tua was thrown to people in rotational roles.
I don't think they were banged up in that game. I think if anything, it was more kind of going to the point I was making is that Bill's defensive line just dominated that game. I don't remember them being banged
up. They were because Tua was thrown to like two guys that I had almost never heard of.
I think they were covered. Or Hill and Waddle will cover. I see your point though. This is going to be the best passing offense
the best passing offense that they've had to face. And then even like you go to the Arizona Cardinals, that was really only Marvin Harrison Jr. and they didn't even really utilize him all that well in week one. So it's going to be a really interesting game. This is two Titans, I think, in the AFC that could be potentially this could have playoff implications. I know we say that with a lot of matchups, but this one really could determine who is like the 2 or the 3 or maybe even the 1, depending on where everybody finishes out. So I'm going to go with the Texans for now. We'll kind of see how it shakes out with the injury report. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Buffalo Bills? Will it be the Houston Texans? And that we will see you guys next time.